Hello viewers, welcome to my channel. Today we are revising questions from the topic linear equations. This is a topic from Mathematics Form 2. We are looking at sample questions which students may encounter in their KCSE examinations. Meanwhile, for those who have not subscribed, please subscribe to my channel so that you'll be getting more updates. I want us to look at sample question number 1. It goes by a straight line PQ passing through the point P 4 and is perpendicular to the line whose equation is 2y is equal to 3x minus 5. Determine the equation of the line PQ. Remember, the very important thing here is to note that we are talking about perpendicular lines. What should we know about perpendicular lines? The very essential concept here is that perpendicular lines, or for a perpendicular lines, the product of their gradients is -1. So for this case, the product of the gradient of the line PQ and the gradient of the line 2y is equal to 3x minus 5 is -1. So the first idea here is we need to find the gradient of the equation given. So let's look at the solution. So I would say that the product of the gradients of two perpendicular lines is -1. That is the very important concept here. So then how are we going to find the gradient of the line 2y is equal to 3x minus 5? So we find the gradient of 2y is equal to 3x minus 5. So for us to find the gradient of this line, we write it in the form of y is equal to mx plus c. In this case, m represents the gradient. While c represents the y-intercept. But our concern is the gradient. So we need to write this equation in the form of y is equal to mx plus c. So in this case, we make y the subject of the formula. So we shall then write 2y is equal to 3x minus 5. To make y the subject of the formula, we divide both sides by 2, or we divide through by 2. Dividing through by 2, you realize that the 2 will cancel here, so that you remain with y is equal to 3 over 2x minus 5 over 2. So the gradient therefore is equal to 3 over 2. Linking to this equation, y is mx plus c, where m is the gradient. So our m here is 3 over 2. That's our gradient. Now that we know the gradient of this line, which is perpendicular to the line PQ, then we can say for perpendicular lines, the product of the gradients is -1. So letting the gradient of line PQ to be, let's say, m1, and that of the line 2y is equal to 3x minus 5 to be, let's call this one m2. So we shall say the products, which is m1 multiplied by m2, must give us -1. The products of the gradients is -1. So therefore we shall have m1 multiplied by 3 over 2 is negative 1, and therefore m1, which is the gradient of pq, would be equal to negative 2 over 3. That one will be the gradient of pq. Now that we know the gradient of pq and we know the point where pq is passing through, then we can get the equation of that line. How do we then get the equation of the line? So we can get the equation of PQ by expressing the gradient. We can say that gradient of the line PQ is equal to change in y over change in x. The 2 points where the line PQ is passing through, we can take the point P, which is 2, 4, and take an arbitrary point Q, let's say x, y. And of course the gradient is negative 2 over 3. And then we can now say that the gradient, which is negative 2 over 3, is equal to change in y coordinate of Q minus y coordinate of P, which is minus 4, over x, which is the x coordinate of Q, minus 2, which is the x coordinate of P. And then of course we do the cross multiplication. We do the cross multiplication there. We shall have negative 2 multiplied by, let's say 3 times y minus 4, you get 3y minus 12 is equal to negative 2 times x minus 2, you get negative 2x plus 4. So from there we make y the subject of the formula. We can say 3y is equal to negative 2x plus 4, and then if 12 crosses the equal sign, it will be positive to give us is equal to, positive 16, positive 16. So that therefore dividing through by 3, you will get y is equal to negative 2 over 3x, then plus 16 over 3. This one gives us the equation of the line in the form y is mx plus c. So you see negative 2 over 3 is our m, which is the gradient. So that's how we can solve that question, finding the equation of a line given a perpendicular line, to that particular line. So we move on to another sample question. We have another sample question here, and the next sample question is find the equation of a straight line which passes through the 2 points, leaving your answer in the form of ax plus by plus c. So here we've been given the 2 points where the line is passing through. If given 2 points where the line is passing through, you just find the gradient of the line in the first place. So under the solution, we find the gradient or the slope. Sometimes gradient we refer to it as slope. So we say gradient of the line is equal to change in y over change in x. So what's our change in y? We shall take the y coordinate, which is 8, minus the other y coordinate, which is negative 5, divided by the y coordinate, the x coordinate here, which is 6, minus the x coordinate here, which is 4, to give us that is 13 over 2. That is our gradient. Now we have the gradient. We will take one of the points. Let's say we will take the point A to be 4, negative 5, and then we will say let the point B be x, y. We assume that the point B is x, y. It becomes an arbitrary point. Then now we apply the same formula where gradient is equal to change in y over change in x. Our gradient is 13 over 2. It is equal to change in y, which is in this case now y subtract negative 5, then divide by x minus 4. Then we do cross multiplication. So 2 multiplied by y, you get 2y. Then this is positive, negative and negative becomes positive. It will be plus 2 times 5, you get 10, is equal to 13 times x, you get 13x minus 13 times negative 4, you get negative 52. Remember, we have been asked to write the equation in the form of ax plus by is equal to c. So which means we shall start with the term with x, then followed by the term with y, then on the other side, or on the right hand side of the equation, we shall have the constant term. So in this case, I may decide to remain with the 13 on this other side, so that I will write 13x. So if 2y crosses the equal sign, it becomes negative 2y is equal to 10. If negative 52 crosses to this side, it becomes positive, so that it's 10 plus 52, you get 62. And this one gives us the equation in the form of x plus by plus c. So in this case, our a is 13, our b is negative 2, and our c is 62. I want us to look at another sample question number 3. The line which joins the points a, which is 3k, and b, which is negative 5, is parallel to the line whose equation is 5 over 7y plus 2 over 7x is equal to 1. Find the value of k. Here we are looking at parallel lines, and what you need to know about parallel lines is that the gradients of two parallel lines are equal. So we look at solution, and before we look at the solution, the concept here is gradients of parallel lines are equal. Gradients of parallel lines are equal. Gradients of parallel lines are equal. So if, say, the gradient of one of the lines is m1 and the gradients of the other line is m2, these gradients are equal. They are equal. So look at this. We've been given the equation of the line 5 over 7y plus 2 over 7x is equal to 1. We can obtain the gradient of this line by writing it in the form of y is mx plus c. So writing in the form of y is mx plus c, of course, we shall make y the subject of the formula. We shall make y the subject of the formula. So step number 1, we shall take the term with x on the right hand side of the equation. So you'll remain with 5 over 7. Y is equal to, if it crosses the other side, it will become negative 2 over 7x, and then of course plus 1. From here we multiply by the reciprocal of 5 over 7 on either side of the equation. On either side of the equation, we shall say it multiply by 7 over 5, multiply by 7 over 5. So multiplying by 7 over 5, of course this one will cancel, so that you retain y here is equal to negative 2 over 7x times 7 over 5. So for 7 and 7 will cancel, you will get negative 2 over 5x. Then plus 1 times 7 over 5, you get 7 over 5. So we've written this equation in the form of y is equal to mx plus c. So the gradient here is equal to negative 2 over 5. But since, let's say this one is our m2, since the gradients are the same, that's m1 is equal to m2, then therefore it is just equal to negative 2 over 5. Since we've been given the 2 points where the first line is passing through, that is point A, which is 3k, and point B, which is negative 2, 5, we can now use the formula of getting the gradient. We can now say gradient is equal to change in y over change in x. So our gradient is negative 2 over 5. It is equal to change in y, which is 5 minus k. 5 minus k divided by negative 2 minus 3. Negative 2 minus 3. So from here, we can simplify and say we have negative 2 over 5 is equal to 5 minus k over negative 2 minus 3, get negative 5. Then we do cross multiplication, or simply we can we can do cross multiplication. Negative 2 times negative 5, you get positive 10, is equal to 5 times 5, you get 25, minus 5 times k, you get 5k. So from there, we of course make k the subject of the formula, or we simply find the value of k. So finding the value of k, if we take k to be on the left hand side of the equation, it will be positive 5k is equal to 25. If 10 crosses the equal sign to be on the right side of the equation, it will become negative 10. So 25 minus 10, you get 15, and therefore in this case k is equal to 15 divided by 5, which is 3. So we've found the value of k. I will look at another sample question number 4. Number 4, find the equation of the line which passes through the point of intersection. So we are looking at the point of intersection of the two lines. So a line is passing through the point of intersection and another point for 3. So the idea here is we find the point of intersection. Find the coordinates. Find the coordinates of the point of intersection. Find the coordinates of the point of intersection of the two lines. Intersection of the two lines. How do we find the point of intersection of two lines given the two equations? We simply solve the two, or we simply find the values of y and x, or the values of the unknowns given the two equations. So if we write y plus 2x is equal to 8, and then 2y minus x is equal to 6. These are two simultaneous equations. These are simultaneous equations. We need to solve the two simultaneous equations. We have several methods of solving simultaneous equations. We have a graphical method, we have elimination method, we have substitution method, we have using matrices method. Those are the several methods of solving a simultaneous equation. For us here, we can either use elimination or substitution. So for us to use elimination, we need to eliminate one of the unknowns, which means we need to make the coefficients of one of the unknowns to be the same, and in that case we will multiply. Let's say multiply the first equation. We can call this one equation 1 and this one equation 2. So I can multiply equation 1 by the coefficient of y in equation 2. So I would say times 2. And then I would multiply equation 2 by the coefficient of y in equation 1. And the coefficient of y in equation 1 is 1. So if I multiply equation 1 by the coefficient, by the coefficient of y in equation 2, that's 2, it will give us 2y. 2 times y is 2y plus 2 times 2x is 4x is equal to 2 times 8, you get 16. Then equation 2, it will be 1 times 2y is 2y, 1 times negative x is negative x, 1 times 6 is 6. Then from there we do subtraction. We subtract equation 2 from equation 1. 2y minus 2y, you get 0. 4x minus negative x, you get 5x, because 4x minus x is 4x plus x, you get 5x is equal to 16 minus 6, you get 10. Dividing both sides by 5, you'll get the value of x is 2. Once you get the value of x to be 2, then substitute it in one of the initial equations. Let's say substitute in equation 1. Substitute x is equal to 2 into equation number 1. So the value of x is 2. So into equation 1, you'll get y plus 2x, our value of x is 2, is equal to 8. So therefore y plus 4 is 8. Taking 4 to the other side will be y is equal to 8 minus 4. You remain with y is equal to 4. So the point of intersection, or the coordinates of the point of intersection, therefore is 2, 4. That one is the point of intersection. What's the question asking? Find the equation of the line which passes through the point of intersection and 4, 3. So we have another point which is 4, 3. So we can get the equation of the line joining the two points. So step 1, we get the gradient of the line. What is the gradient of the line? The gradient of the line is equal to change in y. We can say 3 minus 4 over 4 minus 2. It gives us a negative 1 over 2. So the gradient is negative half. Then later on, we take one of the points to be arbitrary, let's say x, y. Then we substitute the value of gradient, which is negative 1 over 2, is equal to y minus 4 over x minus 2. Then we do cross multiplication. You will get 2 multiplied by y minus 4, you get 2y minus 8 is equal to negative 1 times x minus 2, you get negative x plus 2. Then we can write it in the form of y is mx plus c. You will make y the subject of the formula. It will be 2y is equal to negative x plus 2, then plus 8, you get positive 10. If I take 8 to the right hand side of the equation, it becomes positive. Then divide through by 2, you will get y is equal to negative 1 over 2x, then plus 10 divided by 2 is 5, and that one is our equation. We look at another sample question. Sample question number 5. Sample question number 5. The sample question number 5, a straight line passing through the points P, which is 4, 5, also passes through the origin. The coordinates of the origin is 0, 0. And makes an acute angle theta with the x-axis. Calculate to 2 decimal places the size of the angle theta. Let's look at the solution. Before we look at the solution, we need to have a look at the sketch of how does the line look like. And if I draw the Cartesian plane, of course we shall have the x-axis and the y-axis. We have the x-axis and the y-axis. The coordinates of the point P is 4, 5. Let me assume that the coordinates of the point P, which is 4, 5, is at that point. Then the line passes through the origin. This is our origin. This is the origin. The coordinates of the origin are 0, 0. So we join the line through the origin to the point P. That is the line. And it makes an acute angle with the x-axis. This is the acute angle that the line is making with the x-axis. So then, how are we going to find the size of the acute angle? We shall apply the concept of the trigonometric ratios here. Let me join the point P to the x-axis vertically. If I join the point P to the x-axis, it makes an angle of 90. So in this, it will give us a right angle triangle. Look at this angle. If we apply the concept of trigonometric angles, this is the opposite side of this angle, this is the adjacent side of this angle, and this is the hypotenuse. So if this is the opposite side of the of that angle, and this is the adjacent, then which concept of trigonometric ratio comes into your mind? Look at the idea of the soccer toe. We have the idea of soccer toe. Soccer toe implies if the sine of an acute angle is equal to opposite side over hypotenuse. The cosine of an acute angle is equal to the adjacent side divided by the hypotenuse, and the tangent of an acute angle is equal to the opposite side over the adjacent, given that the triangle is a right angle triangle. So in this case, if we have this angle and we have the opposite side and we have the adjacent, then we can say that the tangent of this angle theta is equal to the opposite over adjacent. So the tangent of the angle theta is equal to opposite divided by the adjacent. It's equal to the opposite of adjacent. But look, the opposite, look at this. This is the y coordinate here is 4 and the y coordinate here is 0. So you realize that this is the change in y, and the adjacent represents the change in x. So this one, the tan theta, can as well be said to be, it's equal to the change in y over change in x, which simply is the gradient. Simply is the gradient. So for this case, we realize that the tangent of the acute angle in which the line makes with the x-axis is equal to the gradient of that particular line. Now let's address the question. The question says, calculate to two decimal places the size of the angle theta. So in simple terms, we shall just determine the gradient. So we shall say that the tangent of the angle theta is equal to the slope of the graph. So we shall now say tan theta is equal to change in y, which is 5 minus 0 over 4 minus 0. So tan theta therefore is equal to 5 over 4. Tan theta is equal to 5 over 4. And then what will be the value of theta? The value of theta will be equal to the tan inverse of 5 over 4. So of course you will press the tan inverse of 5 over 4 in your calculator, and you'll get the value of the acute angle in degrees. And remember, the answer should be correct to 2 decimal places. The answer should be correct to 2 decimal places. Thank you.